message will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
Hey gang, Uncle Todd and Sonny here, and today we're going to look at one of my childhood favorites, Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters.
No, not that one.
I'm Spenser. He's Tracy. I'm Kong.
That one. I loved that show when I was a kid. Being 8, optimal age for it. It was a goofy slapstick comedy show with really silly jokes, the kind an 8-year-old would love. Although ironically, according to Bob Burns in his autobiography, college kids loved the show too. There's something about college kids being smart. The show starred Bob Burns as Tracy, although he was listed in the credits as the trainer of Tracy, which, as a kid, the first time I read it, I thought it was real, but then I realized, oh, wait a minute. That's a guy in a costume. That's not a real gorilla. I've seen a real gorilla at the zoo. And Forrest Tucker and Larry Storch doing a riff on their popular characters they played in F Troop back in the 60s. Interesting thing about this is Bob Burns was cast because when he went for his audition, he had his own gorilla suit, so he wore it. And they explained they wanted him to act like a gorilla that acted like a person. So he basically sat down in the chair, crossed his legs, and opened up a copy of Variety and just sat there and read it in front of him. And he got cast. Now, again, going by his book, Burns worked for one of the main CBS stations. And he worked in the prop department. And was going to use his vacation time to film the series. It was like 15 episodes. It'd take I think it took like 9 weeks overall. And he was just going to use all his vacation time in one fell swoop and do this. And his boss said no. Now, he'd already been cast. And he was going to go to Lou Schirmer, who was the guy who ran the company that made this show, and tell him he couldn't do it. But Schirmer wouldn't talk to the station head. And station head had the boss brought in to his office and explained to him that Lou Schirmer supplied CBS with a lot of programming, especially on Saturdays. And it would be in everyone's best interest if they made Schumer happy by not having to spend more money finding another gorilla actor and delaying the filming of the show they had already planned to put on the schedule. So Burns got to make the show. And it was probably one of his most it's one of his most favorite things he's ever done, and it is what most people look back to when they think of some of the guerrilla acting Bob Burns has done over the years in other films, like, the only one that comes to mind is Ray Dennis Steckler's Rat Finka Boo Boo. Which, if you've ever seen that film, wow. That is something else. It is a stalker thriller, a musical star film like Elvis. And it is a campy Batman spoof. But that's another movie for another time. We're talking here about the Ghostbusters. And first episode, in which, because it was the pilot, had a little more money and had more sets they could use. It opens with Billy Barty and, what is his name? It's Johnny Brown doing a takeoff on Sidney Green Street and Peter Lorre.
Rabbit, the time approaches when we must contact the spirit of Big Al.
How true. And then Big Al will help us to get the thing.
But they're gonna have some problems with the Ghostbusters, as what happens in every episode. It had a pattern it followed. Kong, Forrest Tucker, sends Spenser, Larry Storch, and Tracy, played by Bob Burns, to get their latest assignment from Zero.
Your next assignment is to check up on the Fat Man and the Rabbit.
Fat Man and the Rabbit. I wonder what they're up to.
Down to. They're digging deep into the ghostly past to get help in their quest for a certain mysterious article. They must be stopped.
And then, in typical Mission Impossible style, as you saw back at the beginning of the video, the fish self-destructs.
I turn my back for 1 minute and you eat the fish.
And then we get, back at the office, another of the recurring bits, the file cabinet.
Here it is.
That Fat Man file?
Well, not exactly. It's the Limburger cheese sandwich I lost last month.
Yeah, every episode there would be a bit with that filing cabinet and the different ways it would open. Finally getting the right file, they get the standard information about the old spooky castle outside of town and the graveyard next to it. Again, these things were used every week. Every ghost always ended up in that castle and always got resurrected in that graveyard. But back to this story, they head out to the graveyard where they see Big Al raised.
Ghost of Big Al, come forth. Come forth. Ghost of Big Al, come forth.
It is the ghost of Big Al.
Now, who do I know who's that dumb looking and who dresses that crummy?
Yeah, that's the state of the jokes we got here. We next come to another usual thing that happens in the show where they try to get into the castle and find out what it is that the big thing is that they're all after. And that is why Tracy was everyone's favorite character. After they get inside, they come up with the brilliant plan of Spenser impersonating Big Al so that they can figure out what the deal is with what they're planning to steal.
Did you bring the crystal ball so we can summon the two gorillas who used to work with you?
Did I bring the crystal ball, huh?
After some shenanigans trying to get the crystal ball off his fingers, Big Al summons his two gorillas.
Oh, ghost of Big Al's two gorillas, come forth.
Astounding. When Big Al said he used gorillas, he wasn't kidding.
Fortunately for them, Big Al saw all this on the crystal ball he was going to get and decides to pull a switcheroo on them so that they can then help him get the big thing, which is the Maltese Monkey.
I sure wish I knew where the Maltese Monkey is.
I wish you knew. I wish I knew.
Let's go to the museum and acquire the Maltese Monkey from the vault.
And so, and I think one of the only times they use another set that's not reused in any of the other episodes, they go to the museum where Spence has no trouble getting past all the safeguards to retrieve the Maltese Monkey.
How could Spence walk through a door? Only ghosts can do that. And what did he run off like that for? Now, Big Al could walk through a door because he's a ghost, and Big Al would have run off like...
Rushing back to the haunted house, Tracy snatches the Maltese Monkey away from bad guys and tosses it to Kong. But then we have the conundrum of who's Big Al and who's Spence.
Toss it to me. I'm Spenser. No, he isn't. I am. Toss it to me.
Who's buried in Grant's tomb?
That's easy. President Ulysses S. Grant. Oh, I didn't even know he was sick.
That's Spencer.
And then we get on to the Scooby-Doo chase. And now comes the Dos Machina of every episode. When Kong uses their ghost dematerializer on Big Al.
I'm gonna make you an offer you can't refuse.
Here's one you can't refuse.
And as for the Fat Man and Rabbit, Tracy takes care of them. And then later, while typing up the report, we get one last joke.
This is a bowling ball. What happened to the crystal ball?
No wonder Tracy's bowling ball was shattered when we were bowling last night after the trip to the castle.
Oh.
Yeah, it's juvenile comedy because it's a juvenile show. But as a kid, I loved it, and as an adult, I still appreciate it for its charm, and it does have charm. Funnily enough, when they were making the big budget Ghostbusters with Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd, they ran into a problem because of this show. So they actually had to pay a fee to the Scheimer Company to use the name Ghostbusters. And then when that film became a big hit, and they planned to do the TV show, the animated show, Scheimer decided they should do one too. And so they made their version of the Ghostbusters. And these are two competing cartoons. You had the Ghostbusters and the real Ghostbusters. And I tried to watch the animated version, but to be honest, it lacked the charm of the original. And the whole setup of the children of Spenser and Kong taking over the business just kind of, Why? You could have just used the original characters. You could have even used the original drawings of the way those characters looked, but no, they were new, and I don't know, it just really didn't appeal to me. Now, what was really funny about the show was they only had 15 episodes, but in those 15 episodes, they had a diverse amount of ghosts they would do. They had, there were, fictional famous characters like the Canterville Ghost, Dracula, Dr. Frankenstein, more not so named fictional characters, but they had a werewolf and a mummy, the abominable snowman, but they also had real characters who were now ghosts, like Billy the Kid and the Red Baron. So and some that they made up just for the show. There was one with a dummy and its ventriloquist that turned out the dummy was the actual ghost in the whole thing. But a really fun show. Bob Burns, he owned that show. In his book, he talks about how when they were first filming, he went up to Forrest Tucker and Larry Storch and said he hoped he wasn't upstaging them. And Forrest Tucker set him straight, saying, "Look, you don't understand. Storch and I, we're not the stars. You are. We're just support for your antics. So don't worry about upstaging us." And Tucker was also very protective of Burns because he could overheat in that costume. And he always made sure Burns got breaks and would take the head off so he could cool down in between takes. Great guy. You don't get that kind of care from a lot of actors, big name actors, But the character actors, they knew and understood. The Ghost Dematerializer, that was something that was used every episode. It would always be the thing at the end they would pull out, and he would adjust it. It was basically just motorcycle parts on the end of it. I mean, you could tell. Even as a kid, I could tell that's what it was. It was just put together by stuff. It would always send them back 10,000 years. They wouldn't be able to come back. Every episode was like that. And but it always had that set path it would take where ghosts would appear. They would get their assignment, the recording device. It was always some mundane thing like a tire or pogo stick, and then it would blow up afterwards. And then you would have some slapstick at the office with the filing cabinet. There'd be a graveyard scene, then a scene of them breaking into the castle, and then be a chase in the castle, and then they would get dematerialized, and then another gag at the end back at the office. And one of my favorites, because I did rewatch the show some years ago when it came out on DVD. I got it out of the library. When Dracula tries to bite Tracy, he takes a couple of sausages and plugs the fangs. But what I liked about this episode is it's one of the few where Larry Storch really got the shine, playing two characters. And I love the fact that as Big Al, he is doing an obvious Marlon Brando impersonation from The Godfather. And then has Spenser impersonating Big Al, he does James Cagney. And the Fat Man and Rabbit don't notice a difference. Sorry, but that's killer. But a really fun show. Very nostalgic for me to rewatch it. I loved it as a kid, and I still enjoy it now as an adult. That's all I have for this one. Please hit like, share, and subscribe. And as always, stay after the credits for my favorite scene from this episode. And who knows, I might do more down the line.
Stop here. This is where we pick up our next ghost-busting assignment.